how are we expecting Emma Hayes to line up today? As I recall yesterday, there was a wager made between Nico and Alexis. Nico, you bet $50 that the only change Emma Hayes would make heading into the semifinal against Germany is that it would be Sam Coffey.
Nair, Fox, Germa, Sonnet, Dunn, Coffey, Lavelle, Horan, Rodman, Swanson.
So Coffey in place of Corbin Albert.
Can I make an addendum to this bet? Which, by the way, I'm not losing the bet. No, I'm not taking the bet away. The bet stays the same. Can I say we do this a lot on the show where we'll bet each other. And we never follow up whether that money goes back or forth. So here's what I suggest. I'm more than happy to pay you the $50 if I lose, and I assume I'm going
like
to
a
lose.
Recurring split wise?
No. Why don't we put it in a pot? All the money that we bet amongst this desk goes towards a holiday party or something towards the end of the year.
I like that.
I like that
Open
too.
bar or something. As opposed to just giving each other $50. What's the point of that?
That's great.
Let's put it in a pot. Addendum
Put
accepted?
it in the pot.
Addendum accepted.
Huh? Put it in the pot.
Accepted.
Okay.
Put it in the pot.
Wow, look at this. This is beautiful.
There you go.
This is
And
what
then I'll
this is
do
all
this.
about, you know?
Shake her hand as well. That way we all agree. Okay, so I accept that bet, and I still think I'm going to lose. I did that just in case there was any, knock or something we haven't heard about just yet. But I can't think of who Emma Hayes would want to change. Obviously, you want to bring back Sam Coffey. I think she is exceptional. I also think she opens the door for maybe Lindsay Horan to get a little bit more farther forward, which I think she needs in her game right now. And if there's one change I would make, it might be her, to be completely honest.
I think it comes just down to who's fit. If you are feeling a little fatigued, if you put a lot of miles in your legs, then maybe Jaden Shaw gets an opportunity.
Where has she been?
No, not to start.
Where has she been?
I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm kind of dumbfounded by, because Jaden Shaw had been on this rocket ship, and then all of a sudden it's kind of
Arguably
halted.
the hottest player for the U.S. women heading into
So this
summer.
is our projected 11.
Chuck, how difficult physically is the turnaround? 3 days we're talking, right?
Yeah.
The game was on Saturday, Sunday 24 hours, Monday 24 hours. Okay, there you go, 72 hours. How difficult physically is that turnaround?
It's difficult, but you get into a rhythm, and your body gets used to, okay, game, 3 days, game, and once you kind of get into that rhythm, and they're doing everything possible in between those matches to get fit, and they have all the technological things to benefit these players nowadays, which we didn't have. So,
But that's to start the game with energy. What happens in the 85th minute when you've been running?
Well, you look at Germany too. They went into pens, right,
Yeah.
with Canada to get into this semifinal. So they're going to be feeling it as well. I think that's when you start to make some changes earlier on. You're not pushing them to the 80th minute before you start thinking about substitution. So, that's when I think a Jaden Shaw will have a big advantage coming into a game, hungry, motivated, and have the fresh legs.
Emma Hayes said herself that consistent lineups is what wins championships. So I'm expecting her to do the same thing. But it feels at this point like just one or two changes just to liven it up. Even if you bring back the previous starter a little bit earlier in the match, like Charlie said, maybe in the 60th minute, get them back in there to settle stuff back in. I wouldn't, maybe not Corbin. Maybe I think more of someone who can attack a little bit more. But long story short, I feel they played, 120 minutes, if I'm not mistaken? 3 days
Tired
later?
legs.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, they beat Germany 4-1 in the group stage. Chuck, how much does that factor in? How difficult is it to beat a team twice within a very short period of time?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you can't take them lightly, because you beat them 4-1. Now they're in the semifinal. They've grinded their way past a very motivated and resilient Canada side, right? And considering what Canada came into this tournament. So I think with this game, the U.S. will come in with the same type of mentality they had in the first game. It's going to be extremely difficult. Germany, of course, are going to try and make some tactical adjustments and maybe throw a wrinkle in here or there. But Germany is who they are. Nothing's going to change in terms of what we've seen from the German side and their energy and the way that they play out of the back, the way that they try and create chances. So I think for me, the U.S. have a big advantage going into this game. Just mentally, the psyche for the Germans are like, oh man, they smashed us. We got to play different. We have to not make those type of mistakes. But yeah, I fully expect.
It would be interesting to see how the U.S. reacts when trailing. They haven't trailed all tournament long. Germany was close to making that happen in the group stage game. And again, I don't know if it's an unfair result, but maybe not overall representative of how close that game really was between the U.S. and Germany. So I think we have to curb our expectations and imagine that this game is going to be much tighter, much more competitive from a scoreline versus.
Do you
point of
foresee
view.
the front three being more effective in this match against Germany than they were against Japan? Because against Germany, I think there were goals from Sophia Smith, Mallory Swanson, and Lynn Williams. So the attack was fully kicking. Are they gonna be able to be more effective, do you think, against Germany?
I think they'll have more space than they did against Japan.
Okay.
But in terms of will they be more effective, that comes down to how fresh are they feeling. You know, are they feeling ruthless in front of goal, not going to waste opportunities? And then, you know, when we've seen some of the times they get in those 1v1 situations, they either are attack minded, Trinity Robin, go, or can we see a little bit more combination play and not have it be just so one-dimensional in those times?
I also think a lot more is going to come from the left side. I think Schuler on Germany's team is projected to not start. She's going to be out. But Julia Gavin, I mean, Germany's best when Julia Gavin is getting forward, and that opens up that left-hand side. So Mallory Swanson, you know, maybe Sophia Smith getting a little bit more time on the ball than we've seen.
Gavin was the one that scored, right?
I believe so.
Against the U.S.? Pretty sure it was her.
She's very good.
12 p.m. Eastern, United States taking on Germany. Let's move it along to the other semifinal between Brazil and Spain. Brazil knocked the host nation, France, out of the competition, which was a bit of a surprise. Spain had to fight really hard against Colombia to get that result in penalties. The Spain women are obviously, arguably the best team, I would say. Is that fair to say, Nico, do you think?
I think so. They're World Cup champions.
Yeah.
They earned it. Funny enough, they've never been at this stage in the Olympics before. This is new to them, and they're world champions.
It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But are we giving Brazil a chance in this one against a Spain that fought hard to come back and showed a ton of character in that match against Colombia to push it to pens and eventually get the win?
Unfortunately, no Marta for them.
Yeah.
Seemed like they didn't need her in the last match, but obviously you want to have one of the greatest women's players of all time on the pitch if you can. But she serving as the second of her two-match ban for a violent tackle on another player. You can't kick someone in the back of the head, right? That's not in the rule book, unfortunately. She would crushed in judo, though. In particular, I think if you look at both teams, both nations, I think we would say Spain, we kind of thought would be here. I think a lot of us are surprised Brazil got this far. And that brings the question as to, in a competition like this, when the matches are coming so quickly, momentum feels like it means a little bit more in a match, in a competition like this, versus if you had a longer wait in between matches. No? Am I off?
I would agree with that.
Charlie looked away from me and didn't say anything.
Oh, I just think in these
you a
knockout competitions, momentum does feel like it's a really big factor.
Yeah, but I mean,
confidence.
I do agree. I think momentum goes a long way, but look at Canada. Canada looked awesome, and then Germany just threw a wrench in the whole thing, and now suddenly we're not talking about Canada. I had Canada getting to semifinals and competing for a medal, and suddenly the defending gold medalists aren't doing anything. I think Spain has got a lot of confidence over Brazil. Obviously, beating France and eliminating the host will give you a lot of confidence too, but Spain, when they went down 2-0, it did feel imminent that they were going to get back into the game. And once they got back into the game, you could tell it was palpable that they were going to tie the game up. And I think that speaks a lot about the mindset that these players have and the confidence of their ability, individually, collectively. And there were just some facets of Brazil that from a negative perspective, that I didn't know. For example, tying your last group stage game, leaving it in your destiny in the hands of somebody else, being Brazil out of all countries.
Yeah, they were a third-place team.
Right. And they could have been eliminated had it not been, if Australia played a little bit better against the U.S., they'd be gone. They wouldn't even have made the knockout stage. So that's where I think that today Spain has a little bit of the edge over Brazil.
Who would you say has been the strongest team across the board in these Olympics?
Can you say the U.S. women's national team?
Well, that's my question. Like, is it a question between the United States and Spain?
Had Canada not gotten bumped out, maybe you'd have an argument, Canada versus, because even in the game against Germany, I think Canada was the better team for most of the game, and then of course you don't win. But yeah, I think you'd have to say the U.S. women's national team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then Japan really doused the fire that the U.S. was coming in with. I think it's pretty even.
That's due to the style of play that they make it very difficult.
Yeah, but they did a really good job of it.
I know.
And where are they?
But Japan's a
No,
good team.
I get it.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. I think the answer is the U.S. But I don't think going into the knockout stage, I think it was by far the U.S.
Where has the U.S. been better than Spain?
The U.S. didn't have to get taken to penalties.
Hypothetically, if it ends up being a U.S.-Spain final.
Defensively, I think Naomi Girma has been absolutely sensational. The best
Absolutely.
center back in the Olympics, and so I'd say defensively the U.S. have looked really, really good. And then in the attack, on the flip side, for the most part, they have looked so dangerous and dynamic, although we saw against Japan when a team sits back and they're super organized and they don't give you much space, that we lack that creativity and the ideas to break down a low block like
But
that.
I think that's because of our weakness, which I'm scared of Spain, because I think Spain will, exacerbate
We still got to
that.
get past Germany.
Yeah,
I don't
which
want to
is
show any
our
disrespect
midfield.
to
But no
to
disrespect to Germany, right? They can certainly pull
100%.
off
I'm
a
just
win.
saying, if it got to that point, it does feel like the narrative suddenly changes drastically with the U.S. women's national team, the way that we've been speaking about them.
In terms of the two semifinals, you feel much more confident that U.S.
Yeah.
will get to a final versus
Spain will already
or
beat Brazil,
right?
2-0.
Yeah. 4-1 versus 2-0. And then a Colombia side that showed a lot of vulnerability
Yeah.
in the Spanish side.